Handling rejection has always been one of the most difficult parts of higher education for me. I have never had the most thick of skin, and I also experience rejection-sensitive dysphoria, which basically means I have a lot of emotional pain when I feel like I am being rejected or I feel like I'm failing at something. And of course, higher education has plenty of rejection to go around. Whether you are submitting an application to grad school, whether you're trying to get a paper accepted to a conference, whether you want an essay published in a journal, or whether you're on the job market, there is going to be some rejection. And even when you're not facing outright rejection, you're going to have to navigate constructive criticism or even its counterpart, destructive criticism. And I'm no stranger to rejection and criticism. When I applied for PhD schools, I got a fair number of rejections. When I finally had finished my thesis, something that I was really proud of, I found out one day that there were people who literally wrote criticisms and attacked my thesis on their websites. When I started in my PhD program, I wondered if I was ever going to be good enough to publish articles. So how do we handle all of this rejection, self-doubt, and feedback about our work? In this video, we're going to discuss 6 actionable tips that you can use to navigate feedback and rejection. The first 2 tips that we have for you are a little bit cheesy, but they are still so important when you're trying to mentally grapple with rejection. The third one deals more with times when you get constructive feedback, but it still kind of makes you question the value of the work and whether or not you can achieve your goals. And the last 3 tips are all about that rejection and destructive feedback and how to handle that. Tip number 1, remember that you are worth more than one review. Rejection can really tax our mental health, so what we need to do is start reinforcing our sense of self before we get the feedback or before we get the rejection. And a part of this is making sure that we are always remembering our worth is more valuable than our work or the commentary on our work. We are not defined by the quality of our work, and our value is not defined by the quality of our work. And we can remind ourselves that. One of the things that I like to do, especially when I know I'm about to get some feedback on my work, is start posting messages of self-affirmation around my apartment, either in my bathroom, in the place I work, in my bedroom, so I'm seeing these messages of self-affirmation. I've even used dry erase marker to write messages on my mirror in my bathroom. These types of things will help us remember our worth as we get feedback on our work. A few other quick things that you can do is first, write yourself a letter of self-affirmation before you receive the feedback. That way you can read through the critical feedback and then read your self-affirmation, so you're reminding yourself to value yourself as you read the critical feedback on your work. Another thing that you can do, and I would actually encourage you to pause the video real quick and write down in the comments some of the things that you value about yourself, some of your talents, and always remember to come back and look at those when you're feeling attacked or you're feeling like your work is being criticized. Tip number 2, know that other people care about you, support you, and want you to succeed. Whenever you're being attacked or criticized or just get feedback on your work, it can feel overwhelming. It can feel like you're not succeeding, that people don't care about your work, but that is not true. We need to challenge those negative ideas about our self-worth and the worth of our work. Think of the people who care about you. Maybe it's friends, family members, a spouse, a significant other, your children. Think of those people when you are receiving that feedback and know that you are cared for. Also know that I care for you. If you're watching this video, I care about your success as well. So take a moment to put in the comments some of the challenges that you have had so I can show you that I care for you by creating content that will help address your specific concerns. And I also will respond to you in the comments as well to give you advice about how to deal and navigate with some of the feedback and rejection that you have experienced. Tip number 3, reframe rejection and feedback as positive things. I know this can be really difficult to do, especially if you're sensitive to feeling like you're failing at something or you're being rejected, but I do encourage you to think of that feedback and even rejections as good things that are going to help you in your career or in your time in graduate school. I want to take a minute to talk about one of my advisors. She became well known for her critical, detailed, decisive feedback that she would provide her students. Every single error that you had in your paper would be commented on. And there were times when I would just kind of think like, this was the nicest way that someone told me that I had no business being in higher education, that I just had a lot of different things I needed to work on. But as I started to think about it more, I really started to think of that feedback that she was providing as something that was really critical for me to improve, that she was commenting on all these things because she saw that I could do better and knew that if she commented on it, I would eventually do better. And so I improved so much from all of this feedback. I have improved so much from all the commentary that she provided on my work. And I really feel like I've improved a lot because of that. And so what I realized is that this feedback, even though it seemed really scary at first, was actually a form of care, that she was showing how much she cared about me and my potential as a future academic and a future scholar, because she took the time to give me feedback that I needed to succeed. And now I'm sure you're thinking, well, what about outright rejection? Outright rejection is surely just bad. And I do kind of have one example for how it can actually be good. Think of this. If an editor desk rejects one of your manuscripts, that's when they just say, this is just not going to work. I'm not even going to send it out to reviews to get you reviews on this work. That can actually be a good thing, because I have found that normally when these desk rejects happen, it is much more about the fit to the journal than the quality of your work. That is the editor saying like, hey, regardless of this is good or not good, I don't think it's going to fit within the scope of what we are doing here at this journal. You'd be better served sending it somewhere else. And so you are being given the gift of time, more time for you to send it elsewhere where it's more likely going to succeed and get published. Tip number 4, give yourself some time to grieve, but then go back and critically assess the feedback that you are getting. When you first get a rejection or some negative feedback, you're going to want to go through the grieving process or take some time to grieve. You're probably going to feel denial. You can't believe that you just got rejected. Anger about the rejection, depression about it. But hopefully eventually we'll get to acceptance, that we'll accept that we've had faced this feedback or this rejection and we need to figure out our plan and what to do next. So first, give yourself some time just to process the feedback and the rejection. Some things I do are either take a long shower, take a bath, maybe I'll get myself some dessert, some ice cream on the way home from work so I can eat that night. I usually like to go for long walks with my dog when I have experienced rejection or a setback. And so do something that just helps you feel better about yourself and helps you process what has just happened. But after that, make sure you go to the next step, which is to assess the feedback that you are getting. We should always return to the feedback and the comments that we're getting and evaluate them. We're asking ourselves questions like, does the reviewer really have a point about this? Was the reviewer right or wrong about what they said here? Is there something in this review that can actually help me improve my work and get me to the next stage to get an acceptance? Sometimes the answer is yes, there is something there that you can use, or sometimes the answer is no, just like this was not helpful at all. And I wanted to take a second to talk about one of the reviews that I got early in my career. I submitted this essay to a journal and I was really excited about it. It was a part of my thesis, and so I've been working on this for a couple of years, and so I thought this is the best shot I got at a publication early on in my career. Unfortunately, that is not what happened. I waited 4 months and I got back about 4 sentences of review. The first review was just like, this is not going to work. Why are you even doing this? And that one was kind of felt like, right, why am I even here? Why am I even trying to be an academic? The second one was a little different. It provided some feedback, kind of just said like the theory that I was trying to work with, the literature I was trying to work with was probably the wrong one and I should consider doing something else. With that first review, there's not much I can do, and we'll talk about how to handle kind of these nasty reviews that kind of question your self-worth in just a moment. But the second one did have something for me. It kind of had an argument about why I should reconsider how I'm framing up the essay, and so that's what I could do. I could take that piece of advice and really think of, should I reframe how I'm trying to engage with the literature here or not? Tip number 5, externalize the negativity back onto the reviewer. Now, this tip is only for when we feel like we're being attacked or just the reviewer just seemed like they were going out of the way to make you feel bad about yourself and your work. In those instances, that is much more about the reviewer than it is about you or the quality of your work. Maybe that reviewer forgot to drink their coffee that morning and they were uber cranky. Maybe that reviewer is going through something in their life. Maybe they're going through sickness in the family, a divorce, and that is causing them to have a lot of anxiety that then they place on you and your work. Maybe you cited a person in your essay that they hate or they have a personal disagreement with, and so they took that personal disagreement out on you. You can't always know what that reviewer is thinking, and reviewers are not perfect people. We're all human. We all make mistakes, and so sometimes it is the reviewer who is at fault. Now, this is not to say that every single time you get a rejection, you should just say it was the reviewer's fault. Really think carefully about whether or not you could have improved your work or not. But know that reviewers are not perfect, and sometimes this angriness or this aggression that comes at you is not about you or the quality of your work. Tip number 6, visualize both your past successes and your future successes. When you think about both your past successes and your future successes, that helps you, again, realize that this moment is just that, a moment. This is a bump in the road. Now, I've experienced a lot of anxiety, especially when I start new projects. It's like word vomit. Like everything I write makes no sense. I can barely get the ideas together, and I wonder how in the world have I ever even finished an essay before? When that happens, I have to take a second, right? Remember my past successes. I have written paragraphs before. I have written sentences before. I've written essays before. And all an essay is a bunch of sentences. So if I can write a sentence, I can get this essay done. And I've done it before. I always have to remind myself of those past successes to help me move through the current moment. I also try to remember all of the past successes I've had with my research, right? The number of publications that I've had, the times that people have said, oh, this is an interesting topic. I'm glad that you're doing it. All of that helps me, again, push through this rejection or the feedback that I am facing. I also think of the potential for future successes. One example I like to give with this is my thesis, right? My thesis had been attacked. There is a website attacking my thesis rather harshly. But that thesis also had 4,000 downloads, and so I know that that thesis is out there helping people. So even when I'm being rejected or attacked, I am thinking about the future times that I will be helping people with this research and by moving through this moment of rejection. So if you're struggling right now, maybe envision someone liking a future Facebook post and saying, thank you so much for doing this work, or envision yourself getting something published or getting something accepted. You have had success and you will have success. And so there you have it, my 6 main tips for how to handle and navigate rejection and feedback. If you have other tips like the tips I have provided, please write them in the comments below so other people can learn about how to navigate and handle these moments of rejection. As always, if you've learned something from this video, I really encourage you to hit that like button to support the channel and so I can know to continue making content like this. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.